Ah, Jennifer, you are so gorgeous and so talented. Tell me all of your hopes and dreams. You're an Oscar winner. What are your plans after doing this film? Doing any more films? Any more modeling? I love your photo shoots. Just tell me everything. Hey! That thing's not supposed to be on. Ah! What is up, everybody? Yes, that poster is going to stay up there for the rest of this review. Maybe even forever because that's my future wife up there. Anyway, Random Random Man here, bringing you my review for Passengers, which stars Chris Pratt, Jennifer Lawrence, Michael Sheen, and Lawrence Fishburne, and is directed by Morton Tilden. Now, the plot basically takes place aboard the Avalon, a spacecraft where all of its passengers are sleeping in hibernation pods, waiting to be awakened on a long-distant planet where they will begin new lives. However, one of the hibernation pods malfunctions and awakens Jim, played by Chris Pratt, a mechanic who wakes up 90 years too soon into this long voyage across deep space. That is, until the writer Aurora, played by Jennifer Lawrence, is awakened soon after. Believe it or not, this was actually my most anticipated movie of 2016 ever since last year, 2015, when I heard this film would be getting a 2016 release. Why was this my most anticipated film of the year? Well, it's two leads, one of them being right there and the other one being the ever so lovable Chris Pratt. Its concept of basically a lost in space type of journey, and its director. Morton Tilden previously directed The Imitation Game, one of my favorite films of 2014, and now he has directed this film. Based on the concept too, the script was also on the Hollywood Blacklist over a decade ago before being made into a movie. If you guys don't know, the Hollywood Blacklist is the list of the best unproduced movie scripts in Hollywood. Big stakes, right? How was it? Let's run down the whole thing. With the acting, let's start off with Chris Pratt, as he's basically the first person we follow throughout the first quarter of this movie. He basically carries this entire film during that point of the film. Yeah, Michael Sheen is also thrown in there, but the centerpiece is Chris Pratt, when of course his hibernation pod does malfunction and he wakes up 90 years too soon. We see what causes this, but after we see Pratt's character wake up, we feel so sorry for him. Jim is all alone on this massive, massive spacecraft, not knowing what to even do. We get a lot of funny quips from him and how he is interacting with all the thingamabobs around the spacecraft, and then with Michael Sheen's character, who is a robot bartender aboard the spacecraft, and how he interacts with him. Pratt is simply fantastic in this movie. Also fantastic is my girl Jennifer Lawrence. She is awakened about a quarter of the way into the movie, and once we see her interact with Chris Pratt's character, the chemistry is instant. I believe that these two really had a lot of fun making this movie, bouncing off of one another. The script, once again, is funny, coming from lines that Pratt and Lawrence say to one another, but also how cute it is once the romance between them does start to blossom up. Also in this film is Michael Sheen, once again, as this robot bartender. He's really funny. He is believable as a robot with basically only this section of his body existing, the bottom having no legs. He's just a robot once again. Then we also have Lawrence Fishburne in this film, who really doesn't show up until the second half of this movie as the Avalon's captain, but I'll get more into him once I mention the plot. So based on the two leads alone with this film, Pratt and Lawrence lead this film so well. The writing in this movie brought a lot of nice ideas to the table. It sounded like Titanic in space, for crying out loud. That's something that's ridiculous to even try to think it could live up to a movie such as that. But with the two charismatic leads, it really did show a lot of that within the first half of this movie. First half hour, we see Chris Pratt wake up and go explore this spacecraft, and we see Lawrence's character wake up. Her character is named after Sleeping Beauty. Then they come together, and this movie brought a lot of its charm. It's also helped out by the visuals in this film. The special effects and the production design are jaw-dropping, amazing. I felt like I was on this spaceship throughout this film. Anything I could have used, touched, I felt like was tangible. This is such a phenomenally put together movie on the visual standpoint, and it made me really sucked into this universe, especially since I love the first half of this film. Unfortunately, after about the first hour of this movie, which is about halfway through this film, I started to see the writing rear its ugly head, and having it made me question where this film was going. Once again, I was absolutely loving the first half of this movie. Then something happens that changes the pace of this movie halfway through that made me really scratch my head in what was even gonna happen. Critics have been giving this movie mostly unfavorable reviews, mainly because of a certain twist that occurs about the first quarter of the way through this movie, about 30 minutes in. It happens just before Jennifer Lawrence's character is woken up, and out of respect for my viewers out there watching this video, I will not give away what happens. Personally, to me, I thought it was obvious what the twist was from watching the trailers of this film, but I still won't give it away in case you do not want to know. The twist in this film isn't what started making me question what the movie was going for after the first 30 minutes. It was until the first hour passed by that I was starting to think, what's going on? I didn't know where the film was going, and then eventually it got predictable and tedious. Now, one example of a movie giving away its plot within the trailers that still was compelling throughout is Room, one of my favorite movies, absolute favorite movies of 2015. Basically, the entirety of its plot was given away in one trailer, the first one I believe, yet I was still invested throughout this movie despite knowing where it was going to go. Passengers doesn't necessarily do the same thing. In fact, it kind of does the opposite. What happens really makes the movie go through the motions of it being really cliche really fast with what happens with the two leads and then the subsequent introduction of Lawrence Fishburne's character. Now, he doesn't do a bad job in this movie, but I thought it was kind of out of place and really unnecessary to have him enter the movie. It was a bit of a slog to get through the second half of this film. The movie runs at about a little under 2 hours, and I thought the first half was super well paced. Then the final half hour of this movie happens where shit is supposed to hit the fan, and I really didn't get affected by it that much. The movie plays it safe in a sense while also really being ridiculous in its conclusion. It goes into really predictable matters, but predictable in the sense that it creates a deus ex machina with the movie's conclusion. It didn't know when to end at a certain point, then it kept going and going and going, and then finally we get to credits, and it left me being bewildered as to why the movie suddenly fell down a mountain into the conclusion that we did receive. My final thoughts on this movie are that we get strong acting from our two charismatic leads. Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence are superb as always in this film. They have awesome chemistry with one another. The visuals are absolutely gorgeous. This is a phenomenally put together movie in the visual department, the art direction, the effects. It is also stunning. The ideas that are planted here really had the potential to bring something so investing throughout. But sadly, the second half of this movie really let me down in there not having a lot of deep meaning to what could have been an instant sci-fi classic in my eyes. I think director Morton Tilden did a nice job bringing out a lot of the excellent aspects that this film had to offer. Same with the script, but what ultimately made me walk away from this film feeling meh was how sloppily put together the second half of this movie was, in it feeling tedious, rushed, and cliched in all too many areas. I don't think many people will be looking for much substance if they want to just have fun with this movie, and believe me, you definitely will, given the two leads and what is seen in this film. But as for someone like me who thought there was going to be more and a lot more of a tightly put together picture offered with a concept like this, I walked away from this movie disappointed. My final verdict for Passengers is 2.5 out of 5 stars. Thank you all, as always, for watching. Be sure to like this video, comment on what you thought of Passengers, subscribe to my channel for more, and I'll catch you on the next movie review.